Hello, universe, Betaverse. I'm Ryan Erickson, of Red 42 as a collaborative artist, and riffing with Ryan, my up and coming YouTube channel, and on the right side of your screen, the inimitable Niels Flagging. Hello, Niels.
Hello, everyone. This is our episode number 39, 38. What is it?
38.
38.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
bad. Not bad. And it's the first time we talk about lean, I think. So
I can't believe that, knowing how you are doing that training and where the background is. Like, what the hell, man?
it's strange, right? It's strange we never talked about lean explicitly. So it's about time, right? In many ways.
It is. Oh, did you mean that? Did you mean to say it's about time?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All
Like
right.
one of the books we will comment today.
I thought that was.
And it's a
was
Red 42
part of.
tagline.
Yeah, I was in the Red 42 tagline with
Yes.
blue on the website, and
It's about time for beta, for lean, for decentralization, for democracy at work. So yeah, we will talk about that. Why lean? Why is lean about time? Why is it time to do lean, and so on? All these meanings of this beautiful sentence.
It's about time in many ways. So you've got some experience in lean. You're doing some lean training. I had some questions. Why did I think this is important? Because you're involved, and I don't know a whole lot about your background in lean specifically.
Yes.
Coming from my history as an uncertified agile coach, to that there's hints of what lean is, and there's certain practitioners and teachers who say they do lean, and that lean startup and lean software development, and thinking that the Toyota production system is involved. There's a lot of talk about lean in software world and agile software development.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where it peppers into my consciousness. And the two principles of lean that hit me there are, respect for people, duh, and continuous improvement, duh.
Yeah.
So
I think in many ways, agile software development is an echo of lean in many ways, in several ways actually. So yeah, it's one of these things that everybody refers to, everybody talks about, everybody seems to know about something. Let me give. I decided to give talk about a few episodes or stories with lean today, if you don't mind, Ryan.
Please, regale.
Things was I started to work with a company that is in to do open space beta transformation, and they are in fast-moving consumer goods. Yeah, so mass products, consumer goods. So examples of that kind of industry would be food, beer, brewing, pharma, and so on. So fast-moving consumer goods, everything that's consumed, like toilet paper and so on. Kimberly-Clark, Unilever, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I'm well connected to one of the most well-connected lean guys in Germany, Ralph, his name. Hello, Ralph, if you see this. He's very well connected, as he runs something like a lean community in Germany, Lean Base. Very well-read, well-connected guy in the lean sphere. So I asked him, I rang him up. Look, I am in touch with this fast-moving consumer goods company right now. Wanted a transformation, 90 days. Do you have any? And I wonder about the lean approaches that are out there. Maybe I'm missing something. I know some, but maybe I'm missing something. And I asked him, okay, Ralph, among the hundreds and thousands of leaners and lean examples that you know, are there any, in the German-speaking countries, are there any companies that you would recommend me to look at, fast-moving consumer goods? Can be anything, I said. Yeah, toilet paper, pharma, food. I don't care. Or drinks. Yeah? And he said, I'm not aware of any good examples. And I think that's
of transformation, of lean transformation.
No, of good lean, great lean, where he would say, case, I asked him, do you know of a company? You don't have to have been there or be connected there, but any company where you would say you've heard about that they're doing great lean stuff, amazing lean stuff, that kind of stuff, good lean stuff, in their production. I only wondered about lean production, nothing more. And he said, no, I'm not aware of any great case that's doing something really deep, profound. And I think it's the same in Agile, right? Everybody talks about the shit everybody's supposedly doing, but it's a lot of tooling for tool heads, as John Seddon says, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So I think we dabble. In lean, we dabble. The agile, most people dabble. I don't want to be unappreciating, but
No, it's a nice try kind of thing. Nice try, but you
yes,
don't
we're
want to
trying
dip your
to
whole
simplify.
foot in. Let's do a little bit here, a little bit there, but we're not really going to change the structure. Let's just see if we can do a little bit like mishmash. Hybrid is often the term.
Incremental and small things. People are not ready yet. Today I saw on LinkedIn, I saw a spiral dynamic graphic again. Uh, you will never get anywhere with that kind of maturity level shit. Incremental thinking. So we have to be more daring, right, and less dabbling. Do or do not. There is no
Ooh.
trouble.
More daring, less dabbling. That deserves to be a comment. More daring, less dabbling.
Yeah, sure. So we don't have to agree about the stories that I will share or about the examples of cases. We'll talk about some cases I worked with, some concepts that I think are great in lean, and some of the stuff I experienced. But I think the state of lean is that it's still a big industry. Of course, when I started working in actively in companies at the end of the 1990s, that's a long time ago, right? Lean was already sliding down. Yeah, it was already peaking. Maybe it was still peaking, but it went downhill.
Lost favor in the management.
Like what Agile
Task
is currently experiencing, I think.
Yeah.
Is kind of imploding now as well. So that happened to Lean at the time, I think 20, 25, 30 years ago. So everybody's still doing it. I spoke at a lot of Lean conference, because when I started with Beyond Budgeting, of course, many people smelled that they got the idea that, this is connected to Lean, right? And what was the case one of the cases we were most fascinated by was Toyota, of course, which was a great, or has been, or is.
It's the first. It's what Lean was. The folks who, at least as far as I know, that's what they looked at to say, "Oh, this is what Lean is."
Exactly,
based on
it's the origin of
Toyota production
Lean.
system.
It's the origin of Lean. What Womack and Jones wrote about when they wrote the fourth industrial revolution, or what was the name of the book? Not quite sure. Womack and Jones wrote about it. It was it was in a way the origin of the Lean story per se. It was also the origin in many ways of Agile and Scrum. It has been a great Beyond Budgeting and Beta case, of course. And I would like to recommend one of the books that I got, that Robin Fraser, my mentor in the Beyond Budgeting, recommended to me right at the beginning of my work in the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable. He said, you have to read this book on Toyota. It's the best. You don't have to read any other. Profit Beyond Measure by two authors, Thomas Johnson and Anders Broms. I think both Swedish, probably, or Swedish. Thomas Anders Broms. Yeah. Profit Beyond Measure. Terrible title. It's called the subtitle, Extraordinary Results Through Attention to Work and People. That's better, right? Extraordinary Results Through Attention to Work and People. And this book has several cases, three great cases, with a foreword by Peter Senge. And the Toyota is described so incredibly well, I think, on relatively few pages. Fascinating book. You have to get it. It's old. It's maybe not easily available, but Profit Beyond Measure, highly recommended. So, can I continue, Ryan?
Please. I would like to hear. I would like to hear the stories, and so then I'll make myself bigger when.
Exactly. You can interrupt me at any time, and as always, we don't have to agree on anything. But of course, in the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable, we discussed the Toyota case a lot, and we wondered, how to which extremes Toyota might have taken decentralization. So in 2007 or 2008, I invited a guy from Toyota Belgium, Toyota headquarters here in Europe, to speak at one of the conferences I organized in Sao Paulo. So this guy, he came to this conference. We had several people from, I think, Fiat in attendance, maybe 9 people, 10 people or so, quite a few people from Fiat. And this guy from Toyota, very nice guy, very young guy, manager, very refreshing, very delightful guy. He did a keynote, maybe 45 minutes, an hour. And afterwards, everybody from Fiat rushed on the stage, and they had a very intense conversation about lean and what the colleague from Toyota had said, because everything he said was so incredible for them. You know, it was so counterintuitive. It is so counterintuitive to many and to everybody in the industry. What Toyota does, how they do it. This guy, he did. The thing I remember best from his keynote was his comparison between the Toyota way and Six Sigma, and how they are totally opposed. How Six Sigma is not at all an incarnation of lean. It is actually not an incarnation of command and control, an elitization of improvement. And Kaizen, Toyota is a thing done by everybody, right?
So how dare they call it Lean Six Sigma? I hear that all the time.
Exactly. It's an oxymoron. Six Sigma is it's the opposition. But it's like SAFe. Some people say SAFe is about agile. It's not at all. It's an enemy of Scrum. So all agile scaling frameworks, in my mind, we may disagree, but I think all agile frameworks, including those that claim not to be frameworks, they are opponents of. They make no sense at all. You don't have to scale Scrum at all. You shouldn't scale it in any way. You should just decentralize. Repeat. We might talk about this later.
Yeah, well, again, that's kind of what I was going to say. One of the things I did in preparation for the episode was to look at each of the BetaCodex principles and say, well, as far as I understand it, how do they relate to lean, and at least what I know of it, and I wasn't really I wasn't really saying, well, what I know of it in terms of the team autonomy is kind of there, teams of the Gemba. Maybe that's connecting to mastery-based decision.
Totally.
As far as that, the leaderships, I think the self-organization, I didn't put that down. But now that I think of it, you think a moment. Well, it is self-organization in the small team and federation. Well, that was one I wasn't really sure about, how the federalization. Yeah.
Yes.
And whether that's agreements and whether flow, that the flow of value is supported by that federalization. So, and there were a couple more, but
in a way, I think lean. Of course, everybody knows this. You know it, Ryan. Everybody knows it. Lean should never have been called lean. That's what it's part of the messy history of lean that it's called lean. It should never have been called. The title lean came from some book, maybe Womack and Jones's book. I'm not even sure about it. And even Toyota never really connected with the term, of course. And of course, flow would have been a much better term, name for lean. But it always comes different, So that's what it is. Toyota is the perfect case. It is highly decentralized. I would say Toyota is it's pretty consistent on all the 12 principles, and all the 12 principles I would argue are necessary for lean. Just like all the Deming principles, the 14 points of W. Edwards Deming are deeply connected with lean and are necessary to do lean. Nobody gives a shit today about the coherence of principles, but that's part of the drama, the tragedy in a way, right?
Well, and so I come again trying to make sense and conceptualize, make sure I understand deeply about this. In the Japanese culture, there's a very very long-standing tradition of deference to authority, right? And in the I don't know, in the business culture, what relatively little I know from my kid going to Japan and saying how it impacted them, but I wonder if how makes sense of how could Toyota be so have so much flow and so much market-driven demand and all that stuff when there's a traditional deference-based authority hierarchy.
I think you already started with a misinterpretation there. Interesting.
Okay,
so I always hear that.
So where am I off?
I think the Japanese culture has a extremely high appreciation not for authority. How did you call it? Authority?
Yeah, authority.
Yeah, I would question that. I would say the deepest admiration is for seniority, or the deepest respect is for seniority, something we in the West call especially in America.
Yes.
I don't give a shit that you are 60 and have done some shit. I'm 22 and I'm an agile coach. I tell you what to do.
And I know, yeah, as you at 75 or 80, you have no idea, all the,
Yeah,
the
no idea.
enlightenment I
We
have
the young
taken.
ones are going to save the
Yeah.
world, and old people are the problem. And so in
So,
Japan,
so the idea of the elder and the respected elder and that
no, it goes deeper than
deference,
that.
or
And I think in your family you have family members who are aware of this. Both in the Japanese language as in the Korean language, respect for seniority is even embedded in the grammar, which is a tough nut to crack to learn Korean and Japanese, because there's several layers of seniority. And then the simple oversimplification is if you call that hierarchy. It's not the same.
okay,
It's just not the same, right? Of course, hierarchy is connected to seniority as well, but I think the root of it all is respect for seniority. And it comes up in the language. It's very complicated for us Westerners to understand this level of sophistication. And I think the deepest respect that Japanese culture has, and which makes Toyota such a lasting example of lean and beta, is that the Japanese, very much like the Germans, by the way, they have an incredible admiration for craft.
yeah, for sure,
For the artisan.
yeah.
The artisan manufacturing, the artisan process. The lacquer works. Have you seen
Oh
these things?
yeah,
Fantastic.
absolutely.
Right? You probably have some of these things at home as
I
baby
wish.
brings the stuff home. So the admiration for the produced good, for the beautiful good, the handcrafted good, and that's very deeply ingrained in Toyota as well. And most people misunderstand. They misunderstand lean at that level of understanding already, ignoring that Toyota, the aspiration of Toyota is to bring back the pride of the artisanal work into the industrial process. I think that's the main driver of lean at Toyota. And W. Edwards Deming was very connected to that idea as well. He had a very profound understanding of that pride because he saw it after World War II. He saw it, of course. What were the Japanese proud of? And not for having lost the war, not for having had an ignorant emperor at the time, but of the World War II, but this pride of beauty, the pride of the artisanal work, that is very important. And without that, you cannot create a lean organization. That's something I learned as well. A beta organization also, it's not in our principles. Maybe we shouldn't have a principle. This pride, this joy at work through pride of the artisanal process. Even if it's large scale, the pride of the product, the beautiful product here, the beautiful mass-produced product that we produce, the beautiful
appreciation of beauty, and
beauty through
the aesthetics,
our hands and minds and hearts, in whatever order. Yeah. And I think that is lost to most people in Agile as well. That Scrum also, of course, Scrum has the same ambition to bring back pride of the artisanal pride, the pride of the craftsman back into software development. And then we fucked it all up, So
the Agile industrial concept.
So and by the way, it's untrue to say that the Japanese get lean. It's not true. Most of the Japanese companies, industrial and elsewhere, are command and control. It's just that some do lean, and of course the Deming prizes bestowed still about companies that are lean and that do total quality and so on. I think those movements are very intimately connected, inseparable, really. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? We don't have to agree, by the way, right? Every time I talk about Toyota, this thing about hierarchy comes up, and it's just a deep misunderstanding of Japanese culture.
Well, maybe that's it. That it's not. Well, again, I can't say from experience, having not worked there, but there's this idea of when we think of a structure of a hierarchy. I mean, we're talking about a hierarchy of seniority. I guess we're just whether we even say it's a caste system like that. I'm sure
But it's not the same as a hierarchy.
It's an oversimplification. That's not abuse of power. That structure of organization, if you will, that it's this idea of respecting mastery, maybe. I would say
Yes,
if
I
you're
think there is a
artisan,
belief that the senior people have more
mhm,
mastery. That's an assumption. Of course, it's an oversimplification sometimes, but that's a great way to get a better understanding of what happens in Korean, South Korean, and Japanese companies. It's the conviction that the elderly deserve respect for their accumulated mastery. Yes, I think that's part of this, because there's philosophy in that language, right? In that
yeah.
language that distinguishes between I, as a 25-year-old, must address a 50-year-old in a different way than I address a peer of mine.
Niels Kun or Niels San or Niels Sama or something like that. That
Exactly.
the honorifics are there.
Sometimes when I'm in South Korea, I'm called professor. And I always say, no, I'm not a professor, but
Flagging
bullshit, right?
sensei,
It's just
right?
a way of showing this respect for seniority for my age
Well,
and for
I
my
mean,
wisdom, supposedly.
well,
Right?
shh, don't tell.
No, we
It's
won't tell anybody.
so the
I'm not
idea
a
of the
professor.
sense,
It's
it's the
it's a
idea of the
crime to say
sensei.
that you're a professor in the West, right? Because that would be it would be you would appropriate a title that I do not deserve. But when you are in Asia, in some countries, you will be addressed like that because you are considered elderly, which I find very funny.
Elderly there. So, but this, I think
Enough of
this
the
also,
Japanese.
and this is the Japanese. Well, but the language of lean, there's a lot of Japanese in there, right? Going to the Gemba, right?
Yes, I
The
mean that's a
idea of
beauty.
Kaizen, Kaikaku, Genji, Jinbutsu. I'm trying to think which one it is. Again, I don't know all the specifics, but I definitely
Heijunka,
know the Gemba. Huh?
Nemawashi, Heijunka. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it well. Yeah.
Maybe,
Tact.
or
They use tact, a term from Germany. They borrowed from German. Tact. Yeah.
so when we talk, okay, so let's go there first, because when I talk about tact, what do you mean tact and groove? We're
Yeah.
talking about that.
Tact.
Well, I thought what to me that means tempo, right?
Yeah.
And I was thinking tact as a, well, what the, and then I actually read
German word.
and I read some lean documentation. Oh, tact actually has a TAKT has a very specific meaning in the lean literature. So if you wouldn't
It's
mind
rhythm.
elucidating on that a little bit.
Yes, it's a rhythm. Because, and we will talk about this. Every key lean idea is connected to the idea of time, to the notion of time, not to the notion of volume or utilization, but the language of time, which is a different philosophy. So, and I think most people, and by the way, Scrum is also basically about time.
Yeah, fix the time and
Fix the time and let the
vary the
resources
scope.
go. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think beta, I mean, we have this in the BetaCodex as well, this appreciation of rhythm, or tact or flow or groove, and all great lean concepts have that as well. Of course, Six Sigma has none of that. Six Sigma is just about
It's about the defect. It's about getting to
yeah.
this
It's one of these popular
percentage of
misunderstandings.
defect.
Yeah, you have to get to zero defects. All bullshit. Yeah, all bullshit. It has nothing to do with lean. So a real lean system always aspires to go for time orientation. It's in a way one might say that lean and beta and lean. We are discussing this today. The connection. We have to aspire to. That's why the title of this book is so brilliant.
No, the author of that one is.
It's about time. Yeah. Let me talk
Rijon
about this.
Suri. Okay, yeah, please go for it.
Let me talk about this, because I spoke as I said at the start of my career in 2003 as a speaker. I started speaking at lean conferences as well, because leaners were very interested at the time in beyond budgeting, and rightly so, I think. But most of these conferences, I did something like an opening keynote about decentralization and flow and so on. And Toyota, the Toyota case, and other great cases, of beta decentralization, rhythm, and going beyond, annual planning and that kind of stuff, and fixed targets. And then the leaners would come up on the stage and talk about their cases, and it would just be incremental command control project, and tools. And
you
one
got
great example.
less defects, less, we have that.
Yeah, defects, Six Sigma, and all this, and sometimes I couldn't stay because of that. I had to leave because I couldn't
stomach it.
Yeah. So a very different experience was this conference, maybe 8 years ago or so. I do not remember, a conference in the Netherlands, and I think a guy from Spain from this community. Quick response manufacturing sounded very boring to me. At the start, he invited me to speak in the Netherlands, and he said our guru Rijon will also be at the conference. And of course, I had no clue what quick response manufacturing was. I had to look it up. Of course, I smell. They explained that it's a lean concept and so on. And when I spoke there and talked about decentralization, cell structure, I had already picked up a little bit on quick response manufacturing, and we had these amazing discussions after my keynote about how to combine this lean approach with cell structure design, with decentralization. And that was the first time, I would say, that apart from the Toyota case and the Toyota logic, Toyota production system, which is about flow and one piece flow, which Toyota achieved. And these guys from quick response manufacturing, they had a somewhat different take on lean that was totally coherent, totally serious, totally transformational, very fast to implement within just a few weeks. So that was the first time-based approach of lean that I started to understand that lean is all about time. So this is a great book. There's also this other book. I think it's also by Raja Zuri. Yes, it's also by Rijon and Niels. It's called Quick Response Manufacturing. A little thicker. These books are not so easy to read, I think, but they are good. You have to have. I think everybody has to have them. Yeah. Quick Response Manufacturing. It's about time, by Rijon and Niels, the founder of the Quick Response Manufacturing movement. Right, Ryan?
So when you say those books are difficult to read, is there a particular kind of background one ought to have, some kind of knowledge of manufacturing process, or in order to grok the language? I mean, is that?
No, I think you have to be willing and able to think about production. And that's
Okay.
that's it. For example, when I started doing a BetaCodex or beyond budgeting consulting work in 2003, my first client was an industrial company. No, that was a software company. But my second big client project was mass, how was it called? Fast-moving consumer goods company. Packaging, especially. Very fast-moving production lines and so on. So it was a production company. I had to get fit with lean. That's when I started, getting more into Deming and lean and so on. But at the time, I didn't know quick response manufacturing. So I'm a bit wiser now. And but quick response manufacturing teaches about how to optimize production processes. Time-based. Analyzing the process from what is the fastest way to get the production process done without any waiting time. If you produce total flow, how long would it take? So maybe instead of 7 days or 14 days, it would take just 4 hours, and then you organize according to that. It's very simple, really. But it requires a certain dedication to, of course, it requires to break free from the notion of optimizing machine utilization, OEE, and that kind of stuff. So these things are explained with beauty here, and how to do it, what kind of things to do in your factories, how to reorganize, how to redesign the production systems and so on. And they figured out
organize for complexity, maybe to organize for complexity.
Yes, of course. That's how they found out about me, because of the Organize for Complexity. That's why they invited me, because in the Organize for Complexity book, they figured out, this looks very similar to our stuff, the cell structure and so on. They identified with that small teams, self-organized teams that, run with the flow, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that was the first time, beyond Toyota and the traditional notions of lean, that I thought, okay, there is a way, of letting. Yes.
So I want to get back to team structure a little bit. So when we're talking about this, often what happens again in the software development teams that I encounter, there's this idea of you want to have a multidisciplinary, cross-functional, whatever you want to say. There are multiple disciplines on the team, and that was because I don't come from manufacturing. That to me seems a little bit, it's too abstract for me to think. How is a cell in a lean flow BetaCodex, a beta organization, what kind of cross functionality would you see in those fast moving production lines? Am I making sense there? Is that even a
Yes, I
concept
think
that
the answer is just like in cell structure design. In general, because if you look at a traditional production site or industrial company, it would have these departmental structures, right? Production, logistics, sales, of course,
supply chain,
and then purchasing department, and then production planning, all kinds of forecasting, coordination people, people who do coordination work most of the time. So you would have the functional division and then coordinating systems and structures and departments, and they all optimize themselves. And one of the major beliefs, again, is that machines must run. Machine utilization is king in most organizations. And everybody knows, in a way, everybody knows already, but nobody acknowledges it. Few people acknowledges it, that if you try to optimize machinery, then you cannot produce flow. It's the opposite of flow. So if you optimize machine utilization, you will try to, press out capacity out of your equipment. But to do that, to attempt that, actually, you have to sub-optimize flow. Yeah.
Yes.
You will not even know your bottlenecks. You will not even know where your problems lie if you always try to optimize utilization, because you will just try to upper optimization, but you will never get there. Many companies have tried to optimize utilization and they never improved. They're just stuck. Yeah, because
is that maybe because in ignorance of the customer side of that equation, the actual pull of the demand and optimizing for the pull of the demand.
The opposite is to produce according to pull and fuck utilization. But that requires the insight that utilization does not produce good cost. High utilization does not lead to good cost. Every factory, if you look at almost any production site, fast-moving goods or serial production, you will see that the equation, the belief that only a high optimization will drive down cost. Scale will drive down cost. These equations are not true. They are just flawed hypotheses. It's not true that scaling drives down cost. It's just not true. Because in an age of complexity, a huge variety of products, unpredictable demand, at least for many products, we will talk about that in a moment, you cannot reach optimal results by optimizing utilization, OEE, machine utilization. You just cannot, because the reality will always deviate from your plan. So it's, in a way, it's the same thing as in beyond budgeting. Planning doesn't work. It doesn't work for entire companies. It doesn't work for production. The whole forecasting and planning, it's all bollocks, because
you're sub-optimizing each part of the chain.
Exactly. You have no chance of winning in a system that tries to optimize scale and volume and utilization and batches, of course.
And if the utilization is if you're incentivized by utilization in order to get your bonus, you have to be at X utilization, low defect. You're going to optimize. I don't care 3 pieces down the line what's happening over there. I want to get my number. I want to crack my nut. I want to get my nut.
Or if you have different shifts on top of that, if you have different shifts working, if 3-shift system maybe, then the shifts will kind of fuck with each other, and try to optimize their results against the results of the next shift and the other shifts, So it's really a war, everybody against everybody. In if you try to do optimization of scale, large batches, and so on, and you create stocks, inventory, you trying to produce the largest batches possible will
it'll create queues, right? It's the whole batch and queue thing, right?
Yes, and also as demand is large, in parts at least unpredictable, in large parts unpredictable, you can never reduce your batches, your inventory significantly. So the only solution is how to achieve pull, how to do pull production instead of push production, how to produce to demand to flow. Yeah, and quick response manufacturing gets you there. I would say.
Mm.
Yeah. But then again, I think it's not complete. And I saw the light when then only a couple of years, I think 1 or 2 years later, this guy from Austria rang me. He had heard me doing an interview on Austrian radio about beta, and he rang me up and he said, this guy, and he rang me up and said, Niels, I'm an old guy, 70 years old. I've done this thing I humbly call this system the Weichselbaum system because my name is Weichselbaum. And I did this with 150 companies, and yeah, we should talk about it. We had great conversations on the phone. I find in the end we produced this book, which is in German. There is a better company in every company. So something like that in English. In jedem Unternehmen steckt ein besseres. There is a better company in every company. That's about the Weichselbaum system. And this guy, he cracked beyond and also in sync with quick response manufacturing. I think Ernst Weichselbaum from Austria, he cracked the code of what philosophically, what does it mean to optimize for time and how to produce a swinging organization where the capacity isn't fixed, but the time is fixed, the production time, the delivery time is fixed, and where the capacity can swing. And this book is full of these philosophical pieces, these insights about that. And he did this kind of consulting work for 30 years, I think now. Yeah.
And was that, again, in the manufacturing sector, in the quick response, in the high volume, fast consumer goods kind of space, or is it?
Yes, well, the Weichselbaum system is more, Ernst Weichselbaum, he focused more on small series and individual production, where you really have to wait for the client to put the order and how to deliver. If you buy furniture, for example, for an office or privately, if you buy furniture, there is a furniture company in Austria and Vienna that I know well, a Weichselbaum company, so to speak. They do office furniture. And when you buy furniture there, you get the delivery exactly 9 days after your order. So as a client, you know the price and you know the delivery date 9 days from the order. It's guaranteed. Wow. Not 8 weeks, not maybe 12 weeks. I get this sometimes from a store. Of course, IKEA has a different model, right? But all other furniture selling companies, they have this, this takes 10 weeks at least, but we're not sure.
This is so crazy. I mean, you mentioned the furniture thing. We ordered a
formulation, again, this is during COVID too, so maybe that's the thing, but we ordered 2 pieces of furniture. It was 15 months before 15 months before we got this furniture. And
that's not lean.
Yeah, how could it be?
Because lean would be to fix the delivery time, which is an interesting insight, right? How to do that, how to let capacity swing. Most people believe that our capacity cannot swing, and of course it swings. Capacity swings beautiful. We just have to dare it.
So okay, so this also when we're talking about swing and we're talking about time and capacity, the thing that comes to mind that is often talked about with lean is theory of constraints and Goldratt and that. So I'm in a bunch of communities with people who revere theory of constraints and Goldratt, and so I'm not sure
mental minions.
I would know they're smart people, but maybe don't understand.
They think they're smart because they read one book and think it's great. No, of course.
Where's the gap? What's the problem with it? As I suspect, it's capacity based instead of time based, or
no? I think the Goldratt idea is fine, but it's just a fart of an idea. It's just a very feeble, tiny little idea. It's just fartish. Of course, you have to remove barriers to flow. Of course, you have to reduce cycle times or delivery times. Of course, you have to remove bottlenecks. But removing bottlenecks is a consequence of understanding flow and not the religion. It is not the solution at all. The solution is to be time-based, to fix time and let capacity swing. And then the consequence is, yes, of course, you have to remove bottlenecks. Of course, there is always a bottleneck. But that's it's just a grain of
there needs to be a lot more depth to it. So that's and I think this is a lot of what the BetaCodex is about, is that some of these words get used at this level of abstraction, and there's really a lot more to it, to them. And
the theory of constraints.
Well, no. I'm talking about the language that we use that gets used elsewhere in. Oh, good God! I can't believe I'm not thinking of an example. But
And
the
don't get me
idea of
wrong,
making
that's really
this,
yeah.
but theory of constraints, remove the bottleneck,
It's good,
and
but it's
then and
exactly
then
what's
okay,
the end
and
game?
yeah, what's the end
Yeah,
game?
and in a way, theory of constraints, it's just a means to an end that should be this shit. Yeah, and you cannot, and this is I think part of the. We have talked about this in the context of agile, but it was the same and has been always the same about lean. Most people pick a tiny detail of lean and then turn it into their tool, and blow up their tool. I don't say that Mr. Goldrat did that, but his minions, followers certainly did that. They blew up and it's not the essence of lean. Cannot be to remove constraints. It's just part of the game. Yeah.
Well, and
Sure.
that's and the other thing, and this maybe this is the same thing. It's about the waste, the 3 types of waste, or something like that. That there's
Yeah, that's great as well. And yeah, and they are 5 or 16 or 100 types of wastes, and all that is good and well. And Toyota certainly does that. But again, that's
and
just a consequence of doing the thing,
yeah.
and that is why I mean we can jump to the next concept. I think that makes this very expensive. So in a way, my history with lean was Toyota, then quick response manufacturing, then the Weichselbaum model, and then just a few months ago, this year, I came across this brilliant concept, and it's seemingly it's so simple. It might be the simplest of these 3. I call them the holy trinity of lean: quick response quick response manufacturing, the Weichselbaum model, and lean RFS. They are all the same in that they go for time-based flow, time-based production, time-based value creation, time-based flow through fucking capacity and volume and large batches, and going for flow and swinging capacity and so on. Yeah, so in a way, these concepts, they all come from the same, they all fall from the same tree, but they are not directly connected, interestingly. Mr. Weichselbaum, for example, he was aware of Toyota always, but he wanted to do something very different, and he is keen on highlighting this, that his inspiration came from a different place, from constructivism, for instance. I'm not quite sure about the roots of quick response manufacturing. Might be more similar to Toyota. The inspiration might be closer to Toyota. And here, Ian Glenday, we will talk with him soon. Yeah,
Yes, we can have from now. Yeah.
So we will do our next episode with Ian Glenday, the creator of Lean RFS. Brilliant guy, I think. Very nice guy. And this idea is what's so brilliant? Why do I love Lean RFS so much? I think it has this beautiful idea that you can stop the planning. You can go to flow without going for what Toyota does, which is single. How's it called? Single unit manufacturing. Single.
Yeah.
One piece flow. One piece.
Yeah,
flow.
one piece flow. Yeah.
Yeah, don't have to go for one piece flow. You can simplify if you are a mass producer of consumer goods, for example, or in a process industry. You can simplify. There is a step between one piece flow and your now and here, right here, that is to leveling production. That's one of the big ideas in Lean RFS, to level production or to smoothen production through this idea of slotting the value creation process, to create fixed cycles that will repeat every 2 weeks or every week or every day, even depending on the product and the kind of production. And to create calmness and tranquility and reliability in value creation and process industries. And to do this as a step change to total lean within just, Mr. Glanday here does a brilliant job, I think, in bringing about this kind of system within just 5 days.
5 days?
Yeah, so this is jumping to lean,
Wow.
And of course, that doesn't mean that everything will be perfect then, but that you will have the basic system, distinguishing between what he calls green products and red products, and the green are very reliable in their demand, to understand which products, which is the bulk of the products, the bulk of the volume, are so reliable that we could produce them in the same cycle, in the same times of the day or the week, all the time, without having to plan, without having to forecast, just like that. It will be very repetitive. That's why it's called lean, repetitive, flexible supply. Brilliant idea.
And again, the distinction between the red and the green products will certainly go into much deeper with Ian, I would think, on the 9th.
Yes, I think we want to talk about this with and many other things. With
I was trying to share the presentation here in the live stream, but it did not work out. So sorry about that.
On 9 the 9th of May, we will talk with Ian Glenday in person about his concept and maybe about the connections between lean RFS and cell structures. I believe that. Actually, this is what I'm doing with the client right now. We are at the client. We are connecting lean RFS with cell structure design and decentralization to let's say to multiply the potential of the approach. I think this approach is wonderful, and it is even more impactful if you combine it with cell structure design and decentralization. If you say, okay, we will run this kind of company with these kind of fixed cycles and slots and having very reliable repetitive cycles for slotting for the green product and then slot in the red or have the red separated. That's part of the concept. And to combine that with the notion, okay, we will have functionally integrated teams with just 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people running the production process, ideally from beginning to end by themselves without any interruptions, using slotted equipments. It's a beautiful idea. Beautiful. It's not just an idea. It's just, this is how this kind of industry should work. And I can admit, I only figured this out fully for mass producing companies with this approach. So it was one of the key insights of my life this year.
So is there
this won a Shingo Award? It won the Shingo Award in 2014, I think. So
it's almost like the Todd Bridgman book. Yeah, it's so small.
It's a little large.
Is there a lower limit? And maybe this is going on. Is there a lower limit to a lean RFS type organization? I mean, are we talking like the same kind of, I don't know, 70 or so folks? That you've got, that's 10 cells, and I mean that's kind of, I don't know, it just feels small. So if. Because I'm thinking for this very selfishly, because I'm thinking there are a crap ton of companies here in town that do manufacturing, that do these. Again, one of the biggest grocers in the United States is headquartered here. And what might that possibility be to say, well, you think you're lean, but what if, so for a company like that, I would imagine that's kind of a slam dunk, a bigger sale. But for, say, a 200 or 300 person company doing local goods, so is the concept, is the implementation, is it the same, or how is it different?
Yes. I mean, lean RFS, if I understand correctly, was well, no, not if I understand.
I'm asking you to interpret him, but I mean,
the case that's most profoundly discussed in this particular book is Kimberly-Clark. So toilet papers, diapers, that kind of stuff. Fast-moving consumer goods. Yeah. So at Kimberly-Clark, they did this at depth. Yeah. Now, in a company that does, for example, we talked about the furniture example, or I once worked with a company that produces doors. And Zweikelbaum also work with a company that produces specific doors or windows or anything connected with building. Not such large scale production, but more small series, small batches. Then the Weichselbaum system in itself, I think, is powerful enough to do it. You do not necessarily need lean RFS. You can go to one-piece flow directly in a way, or to something that is similar to one-piece flow. But in principle, you could go to one-piece flow. I give you an example. For example, lamps. Everything that's not mass produced, but small.
So like 50 parts or less, or some kind of
Or for example, I once went to a company, Sennheiser, that produces high quality microphones, and and of course that would be a case. It's not mass production, right? But they have whatever 500 products and produce small batches, or two. They can produce 2 order if they have a Weichselbaum system. So for those kind of organizations, not mass production, but smaller scale, individual production or small series, the Weichselbaum system is great. If you go to mass production, this is great. And I think quick response manufacturing sits a little in the middle somehow. I think it's feasible for all. I mean, philosophically, these approaches are very similar, but the way they articulate their approaches and where they come from and what they focus on is very different. For example, this is much more about factory optimization. The focus here is more about factory optimization. It's a very different line of thinking than in the Weichselbaum system, which talks about self-organizing teams that have these seam agreements, and they deliver their product by, becoming authorized to do their job within, for example, a day. Every team does something in a day. You have 5 of these in line flow. So you have these seam agreements between them, and then you can deliver on the 7th day.
And the colleague kind of agreements. Okay, so this is, and we're talking about
these are different scale operations.
And the Weichselbaum again, the Weichselbaum again, that to me is talking. It's like, I don't know where that was in org physics when you were talking about org physics, but what that sounds like talking about that that the company within a company is the influence network and the value creation network. And that's what that feels like to me. I don't know if I'm misinterpreting it, but the idea that again, you talked about the self-organizing teams, and that authorizing those teams to make the decisions related to value creation, and to me that's or maybe this is the whole organization in Weichselbaum is conceived as network. So the point I'm trying to make is that when we're talking about lean, as I think about it, we're talking about everything from center to periphery, right? So that's demand, and that we're talking about the not the cell membrane, not the periphery, but we're talking about what happens inside the sphere, which is one of the things that I think is that folks, when they start to see the cell structure design and not having any interaction or any conversation about it, just think, well, what happens in there? I can't grok it. I can't figure out, well, my hierarchy doesn't say that functionally divided. How's it? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And it sounds like, if we could translate the Weichselbaum book into English, maybe, that there's an org design, not play, but the idea of how does lean impact the overall org design change, to do org transformation with lean.
And I think of the 3 approaches that I talked about, lean RFS, quick response manufacturing, and the Weichselbaum system. The Weichselbaum system is the one that's most interested in org design. It makes these ideas most explicit as it talks of self-organized teams that, like in a string of pearls, are connected by direct agreements with each other, which are called seam agreements. And in a way, quick response manufacturing and lean RFS, they do not come from this angle of organizing the company, creating different structures. They do not come from that angle of looking at it. They come from the angle of, how do we solve the fucking production problems? The riddle. How do we get of the silly production planning systems that are all based on the volume and batch size logic, which is completely flawed, and you can only fuck up your supply chain with these ideas. Again, these production planning, utilization, optimization processes would work perfectly in a world where you have perfect information about tomorrow's orders, tomorrow's client demand.
So you could plan for it.
And small product variation, small amount of products. But of course, every company in the world that produces something now has a huge variety of products, and demand is unpredictable. It swings.
Batch customization with high demand
That is why
velocity, I
batching
guess.
makes you losing.
Yeah.
It gets you
I'm sorry, or
floppy.
mass custom. I wouldn't say batch mass customization. Maybe that's what
Yeah,
I'm trying to say.
and you can only achieve that through flow, in a way, through
Hmm.
pull and on demand and just-in-time production. Yeah, and all that is what these systems in different ways tackle. And they do it, quick response manufacturing, the Vector Bomb system, Lean RFS, they all deliver that. Of course, the Toyota way is another way of doing that with one-piece flow and just-in-time and all these things, these elements. So the solutions are out there. We just have to grapple them. And ideally, we should connect these concepts, the great trinity of lean concepts, as I like to call them. We should connect them with the idea of decentralization and the center serving the periphery, and the idea that teams should be small and functionally integrated. So connecting these ideas, self-structure design and these lean approaches, I think it's the end game, so to speak. Yeah, that's where we want to go for production industrial companies, right?
In production and with the. So I'm going to take this left a little bit in terms of we're talking about production of goods and
Yes.
materials, and we're talking about a bunch of complicated systems, right? Moving production from inception to delivery, right?
Processes, yes.
Processes. We're executing processes. Maybe there's an error here or there, but we are working with machines. We're working with dead things, right? So when I start to think about that, well, how does the information systems aspect of it with that is kind of faking it in terms of being lean? How can the software flow be as parallel or supportive of the actual material flow? And that's, because there's a lot of talk, and again, I'm not a technical expert. People would dog me on that, but I understand that a concept of continuous integration and continuous delivery, the CI/CD DevOps kind of thing, is this idea of always being able to push code to production. But that's if you are a software business. I mean, that's kind of how you design that. What I'm wondering about is, in a traditional business, a material producing business, how does the information systems architecture support that kind of repetitive
Flexible supply.
The
The answer is very well, but you need less information system to do lean. I think that's the big. Right now, for example, there seems if we would take LinkedIn seriously, which we shouldn't.
Okay.
People talk a lot, and it means
spend far too much time there.
It's just gobbledygook. It's just
sorry, LinkedIn. We love you. Please watch. But
yeah, I love you guys at LinkedIn, but not your users. who promote bullshit most of the time. But here's the thing. What I see a lot appearing on LinkedIn is this propaganda for AI forecasting, AI leadership. It's AI, whatever, And you don't need AI to steer your production. You do not need AI production systems or none of that. Because if you produce on demand, in flow, just in time, if you submit your value creation to client demand, to customer demand, and produce to optimize flow and not, batch sizes or capacity, then that means that this is an old insight from Toyota. It's nothing new, but then the orders will start to pull the process through the factory. You need very little information system to steer production because you just need the order. Now, I just recently worked for a large organization, and they had this fabulous production planning system, and they were very proud of it. It's just that these production planning systems are all based on the logic that you have to calculate a lot to predict the future and then plan and optimize the production to maximize efficiency and batch size, or make batch sizes big, because that supposedly makes machines running and so. So it's all these Most of the production software is based on the wrong logic, which is why Toyota, they say, has the simplest IT systems in the whole industry. And the same goes for, of course, the Weichselbaum companies. They have very simple IT systems. Usually the production lines are not that strongly integrated, not as long and complicated with complicated connection, but they are more divided. So you have smaller, more modular production systems and people interfering in the systems at times, so that you can be more flexible, that you can adapt your process more easily to changes and to variety of product and so on. So this quest for the totally automatized car company or production facility, that's just wet dreams of alpha managers, right? And of coders maybe, but not. It has nothing to do with just-in-time or with improvement. A company, Mr. Ernst Weichselbaum, he once told me the story that he visited one of those super automatized factories, and then towards the end of the tour, he asked, "Okay, and who is this good for?" And nobody had an answer. Who is this good for? This wonderfully automatized, who is this good for? Because it's not good for the client. It's not good for cost, so it's not good for the shareholders. It's not good for staff. It's not good for, to be flexible. The opposite of an agile production site is a totally automatized one. The opposite of flow is an AI-based prediction forecasting, BI software that steers your production. It's the opposite.
It's to have what,
and that's very simple. IT-wise, producing to flow, it's extremely simple.
So that again, that in the demand pull paradigm, right? When we're talking about the fast-moving consumer goods or whatever we're talking about in terms of producing a material good out through a flow of machines with people dealing it.
Many things are mass-produced, right?
Well, sure. Okay, so then and I'm not sure if this becomes a different kind of flow, if you will, but when we talk about innovation coming from the center to the periphery, so that's you have your sensing organs of what the market might want in a new product, in new product development. So when the people with ideas have the idea to create a new product, how do lean processes and lean thinking, again, we think the philosophies of lean, how do those support innovation of new product development?
I think among the holy trinity of lean approaches that I talked about, the Weichselbaum approach addresses this more explicitly. And Weichselbaum says something like 40% of the resources should go into the future factory. You have a present factory that produces daily business, it produces the product, and you should invest 40% of your capacity, not your capacity, but your resources, time, and money into the future factory, which is your future products and so on. And one of the big, great philosophical, principles that Ernst Weichselbaum coined is the daily business should strictly run manager free. So managers are not supposed to interfere in daily business. That should be all run by those teams with the SEAM agreements and so on, driven by customer demand. They should be free of manager interference, so that managers can dedicate their time to the future factory, which doesn't mean only managers should dedicate their time to the future factory, but the managers specifically should not interfere in daily business. We apply this principle at our clients as well, because it's so brilliant, so to the point, And if you have trouble running your daily business without manager dedication and interference, then you just have a bad system. It's badly set up. It's not a people problem, it's a systems problem. Mr. Weichselbaum expressed this very well, I think. Yeah.
So then that leads me into the idea of the role of a manager in an organization becomes, the way I receive what you're saying, it becomes as a designer of the system to design what are the capacities, and this is touchy language, to predict what the company of the future will produce, to make some educated guesses about where the resources we have are going to be spent. And so that to me is the idea, is people with ideas thinking up what is the system to be, and designing it, so that the job of the manager in the future, building the future factory, is designing it, as opposed to managing and controlling the present day factory. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, the current factory should be self-controlled and controlled by customer demand, so that managers can dedicate their time to innovation and the invention of the new. And Mr. Weichselbaum, it's hard to do justice to his concept, but one of his concepts is very beautiful. He says there are all processes within an organization run through 3 different aggregate states. Does that exist? The wanting, the becoming, and the being. The being is beautiful. It's constructivism.
Yeah, wow.
So the aggregate state of being is your factory running, your factory producing stuff. Then there's the becoming. That's where you innovate. And the wanting is what you aspire to. So you have to get from the aspiration to the becoming, to invest in, new products, product development, and so on. And then you want to have the becoming become the being, so that you can earn money with it. That's innovation. Innovation is getting from the want to become to be. And of course, again, the conclusion is he compares that with wanting is like steam, becoming is like rain, and to be is like the river. It's really beautiful, philosophically so rich. That's why I haven't translated this yet, because it's so.
Is there anything that approximates Weichselbaum's philosophy or view, written in English, for those of us who might want to explore further? Is there anything close?
I think W. Edwards Deming comes closest. That's why I say Mr. Weichselbaum is Austria's Deming, or Europe's Deming, actually. Yeah, I think Deming is very close. Not poetically, maybe, but philosophically, yes, very, very close. So this idea that how do you produce innovation? You have to get from steam, the mere wanting, to rain, which is to create, to innovate, to actually develop something, new code, new product, and so on, and then to embed it in daily business, which is the stream or the river. Sounds like Peter Gabriel, but from wanting to becoming to being. Beautiful way of expressing this need for innovation, of course. And again, the being should not be dominated by managers. They are superfluous in that. Yeah, fantastic.
Man alive.
Yeah, it's not true. It's not difficult, really, but it's not. Sometimes the easy is not simple.
Well, yeah.
But that's you asked about
innovation, or
I think we were in the connection. What is the approach that is more connected to self-structure design philosophically, and the one that comes close is the Weichselbaum approach.
Okay,
because it has these facets also on how to produce structure that are interconnected. I could show you a page that expresses this very well. This is a typical Weichselbaum org chart, so to speak. Doesn't distinguish between center and periphery in this image here, but it has these value creation structures embedded that look very much, and all these circles are small teams. You can imagine that I loved doing this work. Making this book happen. Yeah, I did the whole book concept and design, and I love these graphics, to create these images.
Oof.
Yeah, so Lean. I think the future of Lean is in connecting it with Beta. That's maybe the one of the core messages. It's an invitation, Let's finally unite people at Quick Response Manufacturing. I think they grasped this idea as eight years ago already. When they invited me, they then said, "Oh yeah, we invited you because we thought Quick Response Manufacturing and your stuff." Self-structure design, organized for complexity, should be married. I said, you could have told me before. No, and then they said, no, we told
would have been nice.
They had told me before. I just wasn't there yet,
Well,
so that's the future, I think.
I think this
things, get to Lean quickly, break break through to flow within 90 days at least. You can combine open space beta with bringing these approaches to light. We can transform entire factories and large scale consumer goods companies if we want within 90 days, and we will probably use these approaches.
Well, it would sound like there are multiple lean RFS streams of value that would be created within a cell structure design, and that you would happen again synchronizing the value creation accounting with that, and with the production, redesigning the production engine to support demand driven production.
Yes.
And again, I would be remiss to my agile brethren to if I didn't bring up the idea that, because as soon as I kind of got it with beta organization, is that it's the only way that organizational agility can really truly happen, and because the agile guys were talking about this, the best architectures come from self-organized teams, and of course some folks, they blow their top about it because they have this weird opinion of self-organization. But the only way that an organizational agility can happen is with a democratized, decentralized organization.
Yes.
And if you get it, and you have someone who really, really wants it, it can.
I mean, today,
so software development. I mean, again, I think it's about time for
exactly.
For
of course, in this conversation today, we focused a little bit about the production, industrial production, goods.
Yeah, but you're talking about an organization. Agile organization doesn't have to be about software development. We're talking about...
And a lean organization doesn't have to be about goods, neither exclusively nor entirely. And of course, every industrial company, almost every industrial company these days has a need for doing services, or combining services with the product side and so on, providing solutions and so on. So of course there is a world between production and service industries or software development and so on, and these ideas can be applied in other industries as well. I thought that when we talk about lean and beta, it would be good to focus a little bit on lean production in a way.
Well, sure, because I mean that just it sets a nice baseline, and I think the discussion. I'm very interested in how Ian will play and spice up the room.
Yes. And next time, in our next episode, we will talk to Lean RFS creator Ian Glenday, wonderful guy. If our viewers are interested, they might look up a video or two of him on YouTube, or take a look at repetitiveflexiblesupply.com, which is his website, the Lean RFS website.
And of course, you have, believe you did an article, also a recent article on LinkedIn.
Yes. I published a little article, and we already have a concept overview posted, because this book, it's great. I recommend it to everyone to have it, buy it, enjoy it, devour it. But there is an entry point as well. If you like, we now, with Red 42, we now offer a concept overview poster that will become available on the 9th of May, when we'll have this conversation with Ian Glenday. But you can pre-order the concept overview poster already on the Red 42 website if you like, which is a great one-page thing, access to the concept, to the conceptual ideas, which are very rich. And for the poster, I might add, we combine the language of Lean RFS and the Weichselbaum system already.
For those of you ugly Americans and those in the UK, that's in English. The poster's in English, so that's
yes. The poster's available in English, and it's also available in German.
Not Portuguese yet. Not Portuguese yet.
Not yet, but it'll come. It'll come. Yeah.
That's for Ugo. That's for you.
Yeah. That's for Ugo Ribeiro. Yes. Hello. You have to do this.
Wonderful. Well, So again, that's what's next for us here on the 9th, I think Friday the 9th.
Yes.
What's coming up for you in terms of training and your public activities?
I
Anything
do not
you
do
would like to share?
training really, but I will do an open space beta workshop in Argentina. Yes, from the 6th of June, I will be in Argentina. Before that, I first have to conclude the 90 days of open space beta with our current transformation
Yes.
client, which is very
Yes.
interesting, where we combine
And-
lean RFS and cell structure design and open space beta, of course, and relative target.
And
And the
I'm
Weizenbaum system.
I'm
by the way.
looking forward to talking about that particular client sometime in June, possibly, maybe, who knows, and
Yes.
something like that. We shall see.
Yes. Our philosophy is always not to talk about
Right.
our client gigs before the client has gone past open space 2, has finished the 90 days. I think then it's fair and well if the client allows it and wants it to talk about the case, but not before. Yeah. So we are in the middle there of the 90 days, and we're getting close to open space 2. It's hot. It's getting hot.
It's getting hot.
And
Well,
I must say that, yeah, it's a great experience to see the combination of these approaches, the Weizenbaum approach, lean RFS, and cell structures, and how it becomes integrated into what I sometimes call the Sudoku of getting to the right cell structure design. It's very interesting to see that happening, emerging.
Well, I'd be remiss of saying I myself, I wasn't planning some. Okay, so I'll call it training. I don't know, so learning workshop.
Yes.
Whatever
What
you
about
wanna
your
do.
trainings? Yes, or your work?
My training is, again, I'm working on. I hope. I'm going to be offering that within the next weeks. To be a link to apply for that in Luma, show your interest, and we'll get a group together to go through the yellow book, go through the basics of beta to get a foundation, kind of like a quick start.
Yes.
And to do it within 4 to 8 hours, kind of thing. So watch here again. Hopefully we'll have some more information on that. It will be already be running and in the offing before our next episode. So
yes. By the way, I will do a couple of quick starts on open space beta, cell structure design, relative targets as well in June. Yeah.
And the quick starts are the 2-hour
introduction
they are
online sessions.
Are these paid sessions, or are these free to the public?
These
the quick starts are paid. They're
free to be paid for.
Free to be paid for.
No, there is a fee of 200 euros or something like that.
Yeah.
So there is a fee, but it's the lowest possible, so everybody can afford. So that might be interesting. If you are interested in understanding open space beta better, understanding cell structure design better, relative targets better, that's an option. And the other options are your course. Your course is more about understanding the BetaCodex, right?
It's about understanding the BetaCodex, about understanding
beta
trying
basics.
to get beta basics, because you shouldn't have to, like me, again, had to pop it in there. It took me a year and a half, or from where we are now. And I would like to be able to accelerate that process and to be able to share it with other folks, so they might be able to speak beta to the folks in their organizations, and get some people who really, really, really want it, and to make it happen. So that's my goal, is to spread the word and teach the language.
Perfect.
All right. I'm going to turn on the music here, and it is epic music. So says the AI.
Oh, I'm
AI
curious
generated.
to hear that. By the way, a song that I'm hooked on right now, again, I was hooked on it a year ago or so. It's by Huey Lewis.
Huey Lewis.
Old one? You know, right?
Oh, yeah.
Artist with his band Huey Lewis in the News, but this album was published by Huey Lewis. When we are about getting old. And it's
Don't remind me about getting older.
I can. Hilarious.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm aware of my mortality. I'm going to put the graphic up. See you all in about a week and a half with Ian Glendale and Lean RFS, and we will continue the lean discussion. And God bless you all. Be more beta.